Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Pound and I am back with another video from chapter 1.2 about cells from Purposeful Design Life Science. Today's section that we're going to talk about is about DNA from section 123. Our objectives for today are going to be to describe the structure and components of a DNA molecule and to describe DNA replication. So DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, is the molecule within a cell that carries the genetic information of an organism. So in the background, you can see the structure of DNA. We're going to be talking about that structure more, but this is obtained using an electron microscope. And DNA is broken up into smaller sections. Like this, DNA is a really long molecule. So this might be one section of the DNA, and that might be a gene. A gene is a small segment of DNA that carries hereditary information. So, and even the gene might even be longer than this, but genes code for things like your eye color, your hair color, enzymes that the cells might make, proteins, anything the cell would make is coded for in the DNA on genes. Now, the DNA is also made up of nucleotides. These are the building blocks of DNA composed of a nitrogen base, a sugar, and a phosphate group. Now let's talk about the structure of DNA. So there are 4 different nitrogen bases and in the structure of DNA, and they are adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Now, don't worry, don't panic about knowing these names. You just need to know the first letters, A, C, G, and T. Each is part of a nucleotide composed of a nitrogen base, a sugar, and a phosphate group. And this will make more sense in class because we are actually going to be making models of the DNA and working with it so that you will see what I'm talking about. These nucleotides combine in different arrangements to form 2 long strands which are linked to one another by bonds between them. So do you see these sides here? There's 2 of them. And then there are bonds in there. It's almost like a ladder structure. It's a twisted ladder structure. The bonds become rungs of a ladder. T and A match up and C and G match up. So I think of it as the straight letters matching and the curved letters matching. I also make up like little sayings like A and T make the word at. So at, A, T go together. And then C and G, maybe we could think of God's church. Okay. So at God's church, so A, T, and C and G go together. Or I also even think of like if you know somebody whose initials are G and C, I just say at so and so's house, is how I remember this. The long ladder-like molecule twists around itself to form a double helix. So it twists kind of like a spiral staircase. Okay. And then actually the funny thing is that spiral staircase twists again. So it's like a spiral staircase. Okay. So this twist here would actually be twisted again and it would be going around in like a curlicue. Okay. Now, DNA does a really cool thing called replication. This is the process in which DNA molecules make exact duplicates of themselves. It can duplicate itself. This is a super cool thing. This is how every cell in your body got the DNA that it needs in the exact copy that it needs. So in DNA replication, a DNA molecule unwinds. So it would untwist. It has to untwist so that it would be a straight ladder. Then the free nucleotide bases pair up with matching bases. It actually untwists and unzips. And then nucleotides come and match up. The nucleotide pairs let go of each other and the molecule unzips into 2 strands. T goes with A and C goes with G. So like on one side you'll have an A, on the other side you'll have a T. Well, the A side gets a T and the T side gets an A. So you see how it's making a copy of itself? It's pretty cool. And you'll see this better in class when we work with it. 2 molecules are built, each a duplicate of the original. So really cool that DNA can do this because you started out as one cell and the DNA from that one cell replicated so that another cell could be formed. Then those 2 cells, their DNA replicated and copied itself to make 4 cells, and so on and so forth, until all the cells in your body had copies of the DNA that they needed. Now, sometimes mistakes do happen. And when those mistakes happen, we call those mutations. And that's where we get things like cancer from. Okay, when there's a mistake made during this replication process. Sometimes the mistakes mean nothing and they are harmless, but other times you will have a mutation that is harmful and will cause maybe something like cancer. So our objectives were to describe the structure and components of a DNA molecule and describe DNA replication. So don't forget to keep watching the video for your questions and write 5 questions in the margin of your notes.